What if I told you that two sick, tortured men in the 19th century predicted exactly how our world would collapse? And here's the twisted part. Their own suffering and illness made them the most brilliant diagnosticians of human crisis we've ever had. You're about to discover why Nietzsche and Dostoevsky remain absolutely essential today. These weren't your typical philosophers sitting in ivory towers. We're talking about men who lived through epileptic seizures and progressive paralysis, who stared into the abyss of human existence and came back with warnings we're still ignoring. If you're ready to understand the philosophical battle that's still raging in your own mind, hit that like button and let's dive deep into this rabbit hole together. Picture this: Europe at the turn of the 19th century. Everything looks prosperous on the surface, but underneath, a complete moral meltdown is brewing. Two men saw it coming like a freight train: the world wars, the cultural collapse, the spiritual emptiness we're drowning in today. They were the ultimate cultural detectives, and what they found was terrifying. Here's where it gets personal. Dostoevsky was having violent epileptic episodes that would leave him shattered for days. Nietzsche. He spent his final 11 years in complete mental collapse, progressively paralyzed and lost to the world. But here's the thing that'll blow your mind: their illnesses didn't break them. They turned their suffering into supernatural psychological insight. Both men became obsessed with the same haunting question: what happens to humanity when God dies? They were the ultimate underground thinkers, unable to fit into polite society, desperately trying to create new truths from the wreckage of old beliefs. And here's a fact that'll surprise you: Dostoevsky died in 1881 without ever hearing Nietzsche's name. But Nietzsche, he was reading Dostoevsky's work and called him the only psychologist he could learn from. Imagine that, one of history's greatest minds admitting he found his match in a Russian novelist. Let me paint you a picture of Russia drowning in nihilism. Everything sacred is being torn down. Religion, dead. Meaning, gone. Into this chaos, Nietzsche drops his most famous bombshell: God is dead. But listen carefully, this wasn't celebration. This was a funeral announcement for civilization itself. Nietzsche's solution: man must become God. Enter the Übermensch, the Superman who creates his own values from nothing. Picture Zarathustra coming down from his mountain, overflowing with wisdom, trying to wake up humanity. But when he reaches the marketplace, what happens? People laugh at him. They're not ready for his truth. The Übermensch represents everything extraordinary in human potential. Someone who overcomes all obstacles, embraces every challenge, rises above the mediocre masses. The complete opposite. What Nietzsche called the last man: comfortable, boring, dignified animals living in herds, despising anything that challenges their safe little existence. Now here's where Dostoevsky enters the fight, and he's throwing punches. He sees this atheist Superman philosophy as pure poison, and he creates one of literature's most terrifying characters to prove his point: Raskolnikov. Crime and punishment isn't just a murder mystery, it's a philosophical experiment. What happens when someone actually tries to live like Nietzsche's Superman? Dostoevsky sets up the perfect test case. An impoverished law student who believes he's extraordinary enough to murder someone for the greater good. Raskolnikov convinces himself he's like Napoleon, one of those rare beings who can break moral rules because they're above ordinary humanity. He's going to kill an evil old moneylender and redistribute her wealth. Simple, logical, rational. The world wins, right? Wrong. Catastrophically wrong. The moment Raskolnikov commits murder, his Superman fantasy explodes. He becomes paranoid, guilt-ridden, haunted by nightmares. He discovers something Nietzsche missed: you can't just decide to become God. The human conscience has other plans. This is Dostoevsky's knockout punch. If there is no God, everything is permitted. But humans can't actually live that way without destroying themselves. Raskolnikov thought he could rise above moral law, but instead, he killed part of his own soul. Here's where these two giants split completely. Nietzsche stares into the terrifying meaninglessness of existence and says, "Fine, I'll create meaning myself." He demands we stay faithful to earth, reject religious illusions, and build something magnificent from pure human will. Dostoevsky looks at the same meaningless void and makes the opposite choice. His years in brutal Siberian prison camps, suffering through sickness and despair, convinced him that humans need something beyond themselves to survive. He'd rather live with beautiful illusions than face naked reality. Get this, Dostoevsky's faith was so intense that he claimed even if truth existed outside of Christ, he'd still choose Christ over truth. That's not philosophy anymore. That's desperate, beautiful belief. Both men understood that existence is questionable and terrifying. Both faced reality with what you could call the courage of despair. But their survival strategies couldn't be more different. Nietzsche says, "Embrace the horror, love your fate, make yourself into a work of art, become the creator of your own reality in an indifferent universe." Dostoevsky says, "We need hope beyond ourselves. We need to strive toward unattainable ideals. We need God, even if, especially if, we can never reach him." Who was right? Here's the thing that'll keep you awake tonight. Maybe they both were. Dostoevsky's vision might be more psychologically realistic about human nature and our limitations. But Nietzsche, he has this monumental energy, this unmatched courage to demand everything from human potential. He sees us as builders, creators, explorers at the center of our own universe. Even Nietzsche, in his most honest moments, admitted we might need illusions to function. His concept of amor fati, love your fate, might itself be a necessary illusion to make unbearable reality bearable. These weren't just philosophers. They were tragic artists painting the human condition in all its terrible beauty. They couldn't accept the world as they found it, but they also couldn't abandon their impossible ideals for something better. The battle between their visions is still raging inside you right now. Are you going to create your own meaning like Nietzsche's Superman? Or will you reach for something beyond yourself like Dostoevsky's Believers? The choice defines not just how you think, but how you survive in a world that often seems designed to break you. That's the gift these two tortured geniuses left us, not easy answers, but the right questions. Questions that matter more today than ever before. What do you think? Are you Team Nietzsche or Team Dostoevsky? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this philosophical journey opened your mind even a little bit, smash that subscribe button, because we're just getting started exploring the ideas that shape everything you believe about reality, meaning, and what it means to be human.